Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, entitled The History of the Life of Ajamila, text 13 to 14. Tapasa brahmacharyena
Tapasa brahmacharyena
shamena cha damena cha
Shamena cha damena cha
tyagena satya shauchabhyam
Jnana satya shauchabhyam
yamena niyamena va
Yamena niyamena va
dekhavak buddhijam dhira
Dekava buddhijam dira
dharmagyah shraddhayanvita
Dharma vyakshadayam vita
kshipantyagam mahadapi
Shivantyagam mahatavi
venugulman ivanalaha.
Venugopam ivanava.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. To concentrate the mind, one must observe a life of celibacy and not fall down. One must undergo the austerity of voluntarily giving up sense enjoyment. One must then control the mind and senses, give charity, be truthful, clean, and non-violent, follow the regulative principles, and regularly chant the holy name of the Lord. Thus a sober and faithful person who knows the religious principles is temporarily purified of all sins performed with his body, words, and mind. These sins are like the dried leaves of creepers beneath a bamboo tree, which may be burned by fire, although their roots remain to grow again at the first opportunity. Purport. Tapaha is explained in the Smriti Shastra as follows. Manasashendriyanam cha aikagryam paramam tapaha. Complete control of the mind and senses and their complete concentration on one kind of activity is called tapaha. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching people how to concentrate the mind on devotional service. This is first class tapaha. Brahmacharya, the life of celibacy, has 8 aspects. One should not think of women, speak about sex life, dally with women, look lustfully at women, talk intimately with women, or decide to engage in sexual intercourse, nor should one endeavor for sex life or engage in sex life. One should not even think of women or look at them, to say nothing of talking with them. This is called first-class brahmacharya. If a brahmachari or sannyasi talks with a woman in a secluded place, naturally there will be a possibility of sex life without anyone's knowledge. Therefore, a complete brahmachari practices just the opposite. If one is a perfect brahmachari, he can very easily control the mind and senses, give charity, speak truthfully, and so forth. To begin, however, one must control the tongue and the process of eating. In the Bhakti Marga, the path of devotional service, one must strictly follow the regulative principles by first controlling the tongue. Sevan mukhi jivado swayam eva spuratyadaha. The tongue, jihva, can be controlled if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, does not speak of any subjects other than those concerning Krishna, and does not taste anything not offered to Krishna. If one can control the tongue in this way, brahmacharya and other purifying processes will automatically follow. It will be explained in the next verse that the path of devotional service is completely perfect and is therefore superior to the path of fruitive activities and the path of knowledge. Quoting from the Vedas, Srila Viraraghava Acharya explains that austerity involves observing fasts as fully as possible, tapasa na shakina. Srila Rupa Goswami has also advised that atyahara, too much eating, is an impediment to advancement in spiritual life. Also in Bhagavad-gita 6.17, Krishna says, Yukta hara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati duhkaha. He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. In text 14, the word dhiraha, meaning those who are undisturbed under all circumstances, is very significant. Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Matras prashastu kaunteya sritoshna sukha dukkataha agama paino nityas tam sitikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. In material life, there are many disturbances, adhyatmika, adidevika, and adibhautika. One who has learned to tolerate these disturbances under all circumstances is called dhira. Here it is very interesting part of Srimad Bhagavatam. Which is dedicated to glorification of the holy name. It's about the story of Ajamila. And in these two verses, Shukadeva Goswami presents that by different kinds of austerities, brahmacharya, shamena, that means controlling the mind, and dhamena, controlling the senses, and so forth, and by yama and niyama, which means basically different prohibitions and injunctions in the Vedas. One can even burn all sins. But this is explained here at the end of these verses. The roots of the sin remain, and then the tree can grow again. It's interesting that Prabhupada translates these two verses as bhakti also. Especially here says that regularly chanting the holy name of the Lord. He translates this as niyamena. Niyama means injunction, basically. But he translates as regularly chanting the holy name. According to Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there starts with yama and niyama. The eight the process of these 8 stages of yoga. And there is no mentioning of this in this niyama of chanting of the holy name. But Prabhupada here gives this interpretation because we know in Kali Yuga there is no other way. This is the only injunction actually, to chant the holy name, to chant the holy name, to chant the holy name. But these two verses explain, they're not explanation of bhakti actually, but the next verse is explanation of bhakti, but we'll discuss this tomorrow. And bhakti itself can completely uproot the tree of sin, that it's no possibility for sin to return. And this is also confirmed by Lord Krishna himself in 9th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, where he says, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mama nanya bhak, sadur eva samantavyak samyak vyavasito hisa. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachantim nigachati. Kauntaya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. That even though one may be or commit the most grievous sin, or most abominable thing, if his ananya bhak, he's completely fixed in worship of the Lord, he should be considered saintly in all circumstances. Sadhur eva. Eva means certainly and only. That means only sadhu. Not that he's sadhu when he performs devotional service, and when he commits abominable activity, he's not a sadhu. No, Krishna says sadhur eva, because he's ananya bhak. Anya means other. Ananya means not other. That means he's completely fixed in devotional service. Yes, and Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. In next verse he says that very quickly he becomes dharmatma. His heart, his atma will be full of dharma. And shashvachantim nigachati. He will attain perfect peace, eternal peace. And Kauntaya pratijanihi. Please, Kauntaya, the son of Kunti, declare it boldly, my devotee never perishes. Yes. So, in this verse, in these two verses, practically, Shukadeva Goswami wanted to point out how even by Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, this 8 system of yoga, 8 processes of yoga, can still one, even if one burns all the sins, these roots remain. And this is one interesting story, because the first austerity, because tapa is here recommended, the first austerity that is mentioned here is brahmacharyena, by brahmacharya, that we should burn our sins. And it is very important to understand that if we just perform some kind of sadhana and austerity without Krishna consciousness, that means that we consciously try to serve Krishna by our activities. We should understand that Krishna consciousness is not a mechanical thing. Because many times we can see that devotees tend to think, because of different obligations they have in life, their focus is diverted to their obligations and other activities in life, or some distractions like phones and so on. And they think that if I chant, even if my chanting is not very dedicated, and it's just superficial, by the process itself, I will attain love of Krishna. I will attain perfection. But it doesn't work like this. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says that we can perform great amount of sadhana even. But we can perform it life after life after life, if there is not dedication to Krishna, to devotional service, to go deep in devotional service. Yes, so we should know how important it is. And this is illustrated by one story I would like to tell you. There was a Jaimini Rishi who was disciple of Srila Vyasadeva. And when Vyasadeva divided Vedas to four parts. Jaimini Rishi was a sage for Samaveda, and we know from Bhagavad Gita, Vedanam Samavedosmi, Krishna explains. Amongst the Vedas, I'm Samaveda. That means Samaveda is the best. And Jaimini was, of course, brahmachari, and his guru Vyasadeva was a grihastha. And he was convinced how he is safe from women, that he has no problem with women. And he explained also to his guru, to Vyasadeva, I have no problem with this. And Vyasadeva said to him, please don't talk like this. This is not safe speech. If you speak like this. But he says that I don't have any problem. I don't have any temptations or anything like this, so it's not a problem. But if we speak something, that means that there is something hidden inside that we have to speak like this. Because ordinary people about ordinary things, they don't speak. They don't brag with this. So then one time there was a big storm and night came, and big rain was falling and thunderbolts and so on. And then on Jaimini Rishi's hut, in his hermitage in the middle of the forest, it was a knock on the door. And he looked, who is there in the middle of the night in this such a bad weather? And he opened the door, and it was a very beautiful young lady. And she said, I lost my way in the forest. I'm living somewhere near in some village, but I don't know, I can't find the way. And now this great storm has come. Please help me. Take me to your house. And he said, I cannot take you in the house because I'm brahmachari. But she says, but it's terrible weather and in the middle of the forest and night and so on. Please help me in some way. And then Jaimini thought, yes, there are some huts which are empty. No one is there. So you can go in this certain hut. And she went there, and he went back to his own hut. And then he went to sleep, of course, but he couldn't sleep. His mind started to turn around. And he was thinking about this lady, how she's beautiful, how nice voice she has, and that he made a mistake, that he sent her to this other hut. He would like to speak to her because she's so nice. And he couldn't sleep, so he decided to talk to her. And he went in the middle of the night to her hut and knocked on the door, and she asked, who is this? And he says, it's me, you know, I'm Jaimini. And she says, what do you want? I would like to talk to you, he said. And she says, but it's in the middle of the night. You can wait till the morning. We can talk in the morning. But he said, no, it's urgent. I want to speak to you. Open the door. But she didn't want to open the door. And he was really upset. And he banged on the door, open the door, open the door. And she said, nothing can be so urgent during the night. Please wait till the day. Then, because it was a straw hut, he jumped on the roof and tore apart the roof. to get into the hut. And really, he got into the hut, and there was his Gurudev Vyasadeva sitting there, and and asked him, "What do you wanted to talk so urgently?" And Jaimini Rishi himself wrote this story as an illustration how senses are very powerful. So, although he was completely fixed in his brahmacharya, he was overpowered by the desire. Because there are so many different impressions in our hearts, from millions and millions and billions of births. And who knows when the time will come that they will activate. So, if we put endeavor, our own endeavor, in brahmacharya, in tapa, and in yama, and niyama, and so forth, we will never be successful. And Krishna confirms this in 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. He says, Devi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratya mam eva ye prapadanti maya metantarantite. And this energy, material energy, is my maya, my energy, and is consistent of 3 modes of material nature, and it can never be overcome. No one can go beyond maya. It's duratyaya. It's so powerful. But mam eva, again this word is used, eva, certainly. Mam eva ye prapadyanti. If one surrenders to me, mayam etam tarantite. One can overcome maya. Easily goes beyond maya. So we can see that only bhakti, only devotional service has the power to overcome sins, to completely uproot sins. Otherwise, even if we burn sins, as it's explained in these 2 verses, the root will remain. The root will remain. And then we know what is, you're living in the countryside. If you don't root out the weeds, even if you burn them, they will grow back. Isn't it true? Yes. So, if the root remains under the ground, it will grow back. Yes. So, although, of course, we shouldn't be lax in our devotional service, and that Krishna will do everything for us. So we should try really strongly to follow all the principles and injunctions and prohibitions in devotional service. But we should never forget that we do this all this for one purpose, to please Krishna, to please the Guru. If we do it for our purpose, to be strong and to be pure, we will fail. And there are so many examples we can see, even in our society, that people are sannyasis even for years and years, but then some of them fall down. That means that the root remained, that there was no focus on service in consciousness. Maybe it was focused on service in outside platform. We should understand this difference between, we can perform service, but maybe it's not devotional service. This is great difference between service and devotional service. We discussed yesterday that those who are not devotees, everything they do is a business deal, because they have some other motive. If it is not devotional service to Krishna, we definitely have some other motive, and we want to be happy. This is our natural position. Ananda mayo vyasat. Every living entity wants to be happy. So everything we do, everything we think, everything we say is with this purpose only, to be happy. So if we are not consciously performing our activities and leading our life for Krishna satisfaction, we'll definitely lead our life and perform our activities for certain advantages, certain pleasures in our life. Definitely. So, Narottam Das Thakur in Prema Bhakti Chandrika, he prays, although he's one of the most glorious saints in our sampradaya, and who is completely imbibed Lord Chaitanya's prema. Lord Chaitanya himself stored prema in the Padmavati river just for Narottam. But Narottam prays in Prema Bhakti Chandrika that I'm always afraid that I will not overcome obstacles in devotional service, and therefore I pray constantly. If such glorious personality as Narottam Das Thakur constantly prays that he could overcome obstacles in devotional service, what is our position? So if we forget even for a moment to pray to Krishna, to not forget that we are his servants in every action, then we are in very dangerous position. Very dangerous position. Yes. And therefore Lord Chaitanya taught us, Tridada Pisanichana, Taruriva Sahishnana, Amanina Manatina Kirtanya Aksadahari, that one should be more humble than a blade of grass, as tolerant as a tree, and Amanina, not expect any respect for oneself whatsoever, but be ready to offer all respects to others. Yes, this is very difficult. To not demand any respect for oneself. Usually, when this is mentioned to people, they think, I don't demand any respect for myself. But actually, everyone demands respect. Very, very good exercise in this manina consciousness, that we don't demand respect if we are accused of something that we didn't do, and that we don't defend ourselves. This is very difficult, not to defend ourselves, because eating, sleeping, mating, and defending are four basic needs of to exist in material life. We cannot exist without eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So if we want to protect our life, we have to defend. But we shouldn't defend. If we are amanina, why we would defend? If we don't expect respect for ourselves, why we would defend ourselves. Yes. If someone says, why didn't you clean this up? And maybe it's other's job. And we say, it's his job. I cleaned it, but other messed it again. No. We should practice. No. Or maybe we are a senior devotee and they don't show us proper the respect. There is no proper etiquette from other devotees. We feel offended even if we don't say anything. But if we have the slightest feeling of to be offended, that means that we are not a manina, or that we are so long in the path of bhakti and we devoted so much life to certain community. So at least what I speak should be heard. But if everyone ignores what we have to say, we may feel offended. Or we put so much life, so much of my blood to some project, to some community. So I should be careful by other devotees, or at least respected. Yes, these are all material considerations. This is not amanina. So, yes, many times I can hear, I'm traveling around and I can hear, devotees are afraid, what will happen to me? If I go out from this community, or if everything is falls apart, what will happen to me? But this is not devotional service. This is material considerations. Yes, because devotee mam eva ye prapadanti mayamatam tarantiti. If we completely surrender to Krishna, we can overcome the influence of Maya. Otherwise, it's not possible. Not possible. No one can ever succeed in the history of humankind, but not in just in this lifetime of Brahma, which is 311 trillion years. But in every lifetime of Brahma, no one succeeded to be liberated even without surrendering to Krishna. Yes, in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is explained that jnana and yoga, they don't have power even to achieve their own goal without bhakti. So bhakti is the potent force. Nothing else has any potency, really, without bhakti. Yes. So in eradicating sins also, if we try to eradicate our sins separately from bhakti, we will not be successful. Yes. But eradicating sins is a side effect in the path of bhakti. We don't even strive for it. We just strive for service. For service. This is most important. We should strive for service. And if we deviate from service, this is the worst type of sin. Even if we are bhaka outward on the surface. But if we deviate from consciousness of service mentality, I'm just a servant of the servant, then this is a fall down, actually. So, in this mood of Narottam Das Thakur, we should pray constantly and go deep in our devotional service. Because if we stay on surface, this is not actually devotional service. Because devotional service is based on devotion. If there is no bhakti, no service can help us. We can perform service for millions of years, all the time. But if it's not bhakti, it will not help us to become purified. Yes, and bhakti is ahetuki, apratihata, unconditional. Unconditional. Whatever we do, we don't expect nothing in return. If we do expect even the slightest thing, such as respect or anything, it's some kind of business deal. It's not devotional service. It's conditional devotional service or conditional service. Everyone in this world performs some kind of service. No one can be without service. If we are most atheistic and selfish person, we serve our body and mind, but we still serve all the time. But it's not devotional service. It's devotional to our body and mind, but not for Krishna. Yes. So yes, we should go deep in our chanting. That means no phones should be there during our chanting. No talking to other devotees. No anything. No looking through the windows. Just I and Krishna. Yes. I completely devote my heart to Krishna. And we should also read Shastra in this way. Yes, yesterday evening we discussed 3 kinds of austerities. Basically, we discussed the austerity of speech, but we said that not even austerity of speech is possible without austerity of the body, which is explained before. And the first thing in austerity of the body is Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Shauchamarjamam, to worship the Lord. That means bhakti. It's first requirement. Otherwise, all our austerity is in vain, is useless, as explained in 9th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Mugasha Muga Karmano, Moga Jnana Vichitase, Rakshasima Surincheva, Prakriti Mohinim Shita. And then, if we don't worship Krishna, we are just Prakriti Mohinim Shita. We take shelter of illusory energy. Yes. And no austerity is possible. And here it is explained, it's by austerity we can burn our sins, but the root will remain. But the root will remain. Yes. Hare Krishna. Is there any question or comment or doubt?
So what is the conclusion for desires? Fulfill them or not? In a proper way.
Yes. Desires are signs of life. If one is alive, he has desires. We cannot be without desires. But material desires are detrimental for our spiritual progress. And desires to serve Krishna are the sign of spiritual life. So Rupa Goswami explains in the beginning of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu what should be our attitude to desires. And he says, Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Ruttama. That he says Anya Bilashita Shunyam. That means that we should be completely without material desires. But not just without material desires. That would be Anya Bilasha Shunyam. Abhilasha means desire. But he doesn't say Anya Bilasha Shunyam, that completely without desire, material desire. But he says Anya Bilashita Shunyam. That means we should be without tendency to desire. And this is our fortune. Because if he would say Anya Bilasha Shunya, we wouldn't have any hope. Because there are so many desires in our heart. Who can count them? But because it's Anya Bilashita Shunyam, it means that devotee, when a devotee starts a path of devotional service, he understands all my material desires are great obstacles for my spiritual life. So I don't want them. Although they are all the time reappearing in my heart, in my consciousness, I want to get rid of them. And I try to get rid of them. And although I'm not successful, I still don't want them. And this should be our attitude to material desires. I don't want these desires. Anything I can engage in service of Krishna, I accept this. If it is beneficial and it's recommended by our guru and our seniors, then we engage our propensities that are given by Krishna for Krishna's service. But our mentality should be that I want to perform this just as a servant, and I'm attached to being a servant, not for some material circumstance. Understand? So I use what is beneficial for devotional service, and all other desires, I want to get rid of them. And all attachments also. Queen Kunti prays in 8th chapter of 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ata Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurti Svakeshumi Sneha Pashindan Shindi Dridham Pandishu Vrishnishu. She prays to Krishna that please sever these strong ropes of attachment to Pandavas and Vrishnis. As who were Pandavas and Vrishnis? They were Lord's personal associates and devotees and family members, actually. But she considered this attachment to them as great obstacle to surrender to Krishna. And Tvayi menanya vishaya matir matupati sikrit ratim udvahata tada goga vagam danvati. She says that let my consciousness flow to you only, like river Ganges, which cannot be obstructed by anything. So we shouldn't be attached even to those desires and our abilities that we can use for Krishna's service. We of course use for Krishna's service everything that we can, but we shouldn't become attached to these things. We should be attached only to service to Krishna. And therefore we should pray constantly, as Narottam Das Thakur says. And that we shouldn't be diverted from this idea. Yes, my only life is meant for Krishna's service. And if I expect anything else in life, it's an obstacle. and I want to get rid of this obstacle. Not that I will be strong, but for serving Krishna properly. Yes, this should be our attitude towards desires. Yes, it is said in second chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopasya parandrishtva nivartate. That even though we may control our senses and we don't fulfill our desires and so on, we'll again engage in sense gratification if we lack higher taste. So Krishna explains then that even great personalities fall down because they don't develop higher taste. Yes. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipashita indriyani pramatini haranti prasabamana. That senses are so strong that can delude even a great personality that strives to curb the senses. But then he gives the solution. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matara vashekhi yasyendriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. And the solution is that we should, of course, control our senses, but yukta asita matpara, with Krishna consciousness, that it's meant for Krishna's pleasure. Yes, only for Krishna's pleasure. If we have any other idea, we will not be successful. We will turn to this sense enjoyment again and again and again, and other desires in life, and in defending ourselves, and so on and so forth. This will be completely, we will be completely unable to uproot these things. Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Nitai Gaur Pramanandi. Is this okay?
If you don't fulfill your desires, how will you have a higher taste? How you will have higher taste?
We can see that living entities are fulfilling their desires from time immemorial, and they don't develop higher taste. So fulfilling our desires will not help us to attain higher taste. Our sincere endeavors for Krishna's pleasure and complete surrender to Krishna will help us. And these desires that we have, if we surrender to Krishna, we perform this devotional service, and also we can fulfill these desires if they are beneficial for our Krishna consciousness. But if they are against our Krishna consciousness, if they are not beneficial for our Krishna consciousness, then we discard them, or we at least try to discard them. Understand? Maybe we have no power to not fulfill them. We are too weak. But still, we want to get rid of them. We are not satisfied that we are weak. We regret our weakness. You understand? This is the attitude. And we want to completely dedicate ourselves to Krishna. This is the proper attitude. But if we think that these desires are not really any problem, although they are not meant for Krishna's satisfaction, but small desire here and there, what's the problem? No, then this is not devotional service. And we will not achieve the goal of devotional service. Even if we perform our sadhana life after life after life. Yes. Because, why is this? Because spirit is free. We should understand this. That spirit is free. We conditioned souls, we want that spirit wouldn't be free. That Krishna would take us against our will. Because we want to enjoy, actually. But no, if we have material desires, Krishna will allow us to fulfill them. Because he allows everything, because he's free. And we are also free. That soul has nothing to do with material conditionings. This is just illusion. Soul doesn't come in contact with matter. Never. Ever. So our conditionings are just illusion. So when we identify with something that we are not. We identify with this body, and then we have desires that we would like to satisfy this body in some way or another. And Krishna will allow us. You can become anything you want. You can become a pig. You can become a demigod. You can become personal associate of Krishna. Whatever you want, because spirit is free, completely free. So if you have material desires, because you are free, you will be free to fulfill them. You understand?
Yes.
Yes. So you'll be free to fulfill them for all eternity. No problem. Yes. If you want. But if you consciously say to yourself, I don't want this, I may be weak, I cannot resist, but I don't want this. Please, Krishna, help me to get rid of these things. I don't want these things. Again and again and again, I fall down because of these things, but I don't want them. Krishna, please help me. I'm helpless. Then Krishna will see, you don't want this, you're weak, I will help you. But if you say, no problem, here and there a little desire, what's the problem? I perform my japa and so on. Krishna will allow you to fulfill your desires again and again and again. For all eternity. No problem. Because you're free. Is this okay? Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you for the class. It is, I was thinking about the verse Shruti Smriti Puranadi, where it's described that we may perform even the devotional service, just like even under the direction of the spiritual master, just like see some part of the instructions we may follow, even some devotional service, even so-called sincere to please Krishna. But if it's not under the scriptures, there's something just like here, brahmachari, he don't speak with one on private place, etc., etc. And there are many also other rules and regulations in the scriptures. It's just disturbance in the society. But also here is described that by chanting the holy name of the Lord, Prabhupada we say, Ataksha Krishna Namani, one become purified. What means is this tendency, and he will be fixed in the following the regulative principles or he can hope to just to try to chant with concentration and not so much, just like we in ISKCON now is the tendency mixing with the ladies, and so may not wake up for the Bhagavata, but I'm having chanting and hearing maybe and hoping to become purified and
Yes.
achieve the result, the desired result.
Yes. This is an important question. Thank you. Shruti Smriti Purana di Pancharatra Vidim Vina. Aikantiki Harirvarti Utpate Eva Kalpati. Even if there is so-called Aikantiki Bhakti, it's just Utpata Eva. And certainly, again, this Eva is used. Certainly, it's just a disturbance, it's not a devotional service, is explained. Even so-called Aikantiki Bhakti, if it's not according to Shastra, it's not a devotional service. You should know this. Because many times, yes, devotees think like this. It's what we feel. But Prabhupada explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Shastra is Praman, as Krishna himself says in 16th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. And Guru is bona fide if he speaks on the basis of Shastra, if he teaches on the basis of Shastra. And Sadhu, because we have these three referring points, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And Sadhu is also one who follows Shastra. So Shastra is the central thing. If Sadhu doesn't follow Shastra, he's not bona fide Sadhu. And if Guru doesn't follow Shastra and doesn't teach from Shastra, and doesn't support anything, as we explained yesterday, this austerity of speech, it doesn't support what he says with Shastra, then he's not proper Guru. So, yes, Krishna says in 16th chapter, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam te karya karya vavasito gyatva Shastra vidanotam karma kartam iharhasi. That everything you do, you should consider Shastra is Praman. That means how to say, the measure what is right and what is not right, and how to perform our life and how not to perform our life. So, and Guru is teaching us. Go to Mangalarati. You mentioned Mangalarati. And other things. So, if we don't follow teachings of our Guru, how can we become perfect? Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadam nagati kutopi. There is no hope if we don't fulfill desires of our Guru. And Guru is teaching on the basis of Shastra. If he doesn't, he's not a Guru. Yes. So yes, it's extremely important to understand this and to follow proper etiquette, taught also by Guru. For example, as Prabhupada here explains, these brahmacharis are speaking to women. I have seen so many times brahmachari speaking frivolously with women and laughing with them and so on. And many times, not just once here and there, but many times. This is certainly not according to Guru and Sadhu and Shastra behavior.
Why?
Why?
But women and men, who have not our body and who have souls. So if you don't make difference between women and men, and it doesn't bother you, Why don't you speak with the others?
Lord Chaitanya was Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Not just one of the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he was avatari. And he was in mood of Srimati Radharani, full of love of Krishna. And then there was one Devadasi, the servant of Lord Jagannath, was singing beautifully, with beautiful voice, from Gita Govinda, most intimate, pleasurable pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya was so charmed by this singing about Krishna, about Radha and Krishna, that he ran to embrace such a devotee that awakens his emotional love for Krishna so much, in gratitude. He was running as mad to embrace her, this Devidasi. But Govinda, his servant, was running behind him, and Lord Chaitanya was running through thorny bushes, that his body was cut and he was bleeding, but he was completely oblivious about everything. He wanted just to embrace this girl. But then Govinda caught him, and he said to him, "It's woman who is singing." And then Lord Chaitanya immediately regained his external consciousness, and he said to Govinda, "You saved my life. You saved my life." And this was Supreme Personality of Godhead. What to speak of us. So if we have this propensity, of course, very strong in us, then we should properly marry. No problem. We can use our propensity to properly marry and have children and be responsible grihastas. And many of our acharyas were grihastas. Advaita Acharya, for example, who is also Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was a grihasta. And he lived very, very properly as a grihasta. And of course, not to mention Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and even Srila Prabhupada was a grihasta. So many grihastas in our line. So if one has strong tendency to associate with opposite sex, he should marry and live proper devotional life as a grihasta. And nothing is wrong with this. Perfectly okay. But even if a grihasta is freely speaking with women, he will fall down. Yes. Nanvagnih pramadanama griha kumbha samahpuman. It is explained that women are like fire and men are like pot of butter. And what happens? That butter certainly melts. Yes, certainly melts. And therefore we shouldn't be... Shastra explains this. Shastra again. in not just any Shastra. Srimad Bhagavatam explains that one should not be on a secret place even with one's own daughter or sister or even mother. What to speak of other women?
Maybe you have to change the religion. I'm just joking.
Of course, this is extreme examples. Maybe sometimes not even possible to follow. But we should have this mentality, not to enjoy in opposite sex. Never. And
not to enjoy in opposite sex, but I'm speaking about the souls. Women and men, they are souls. If you
yes.
speak with them as souls, not sex, what's the problem?
The problem is that we are conditioned. This is the problem. We are not women, we are not men, but still we live in this world, and therefore we should follow the etiquette. Even the Lord himself followed the etiquette. But we are not on the platform of the Lord. Who can claim that he's on the platform of the Lord? Can you claim that you're on the platform of the Lord? Or even great liberated personalities? We can see.
We are parts
Sorry?
of Krishna.
Yes, but have you realized this?
Why not?
Even if we,
In this sense, why not?
even if we realize, then we will not be attracted to speak to the opposite sex.
Why? If there is something interesting in this,
For example,
so we have to как я развивам, как беше? Develop. We have to speak with the others. We have to
maybe for service or for training something.
yes, we should be careful not to mix in service. This is extremely important for authorities, for temple authorities, not to put men and women in the same service also, because they will mix. And immediately when there is subtle sex enjoyment in speaking between men and women. It doesn't even cross the mind for gross sex. You should understand. Maybe you don't even think of this. And man maybe also doesn't think of sex with a woman. But he enjoys in speaking with a woman. Not because she's a soul, not because I'm a soul, but I enjoy in subtle way of women's energy, because it is explained.
Why not?
Because why not? Because
yes.
this is as we explained yesterday, this is Rakshasa mentality. This is sucking of others' energy, of others' blood, actually. If brahmachari wants to speak...
It's unconditional, why?
It's not unconditional. It is not. This is just a lie to yourself. It is not unconditional. If next day this brahmachari with whom you spoke today very nicely, but if tomorrow he wouldn't look at you, you will be offended. You will be offended. And that means that you wanted to take advantage of his energy, and he wanted to take advantage of your energy. And this is Rakshasa mentality, blood-sucking mentality. But we turn blind eye on this, and we lie to ourselves that we are souls, that nothing can be material in our relationship because we are all devotees. This is a lie. This is a lie, and deep in our heart we know it's a lie. But immediately when we are disregarded by someone with whom we develop so nice conversation, will be deeply affected and will be offended. Yes.
No.
So we shouldn't lie ourselves. We should be honest. We should be honest and recognize this. That this is so. It's so pleasurable to talk to other sex. I know, because I'm I'm from flesh and blood.
Some women,
You
yes,
understand?
of course, why not?
I'm from flesh and blood, and I have more than 55 years experience. So I know it's very pleasurable to speak to other sex, extremely pleasurable.
Yes, why not?
Because it will keep us in material world for all eternity. And why not? No problem. You can stay here for all eternity if you want. Everyone can stay. Because we are free. But if you want...
Men's and women's energy, they have to взаимодействат, как пише. Да си взаимодействат. Багаха, как е взаимодействат?
Не знам как е взаимодействат.
Още друга дума не намериш.
So, you should understand this. This dynamic is very conditioning, extremely conditioning. This is the basis of all conditioning, actually, this sex attraction. That doesn't mean the gross sex intercourse, but sex attraction between men and women is the basis of material conditioning. And if we engage...
Even if there is a sex attraction, but it is unconditional, what's the problem?
What unconditional?
Unconditional.
I just said that if you're neglected next day, you'll be offended. That means it's not unconditional.
But why to neglect me next day if...
It doesn't matter, but if you are, that means it's not unconditional. And
yes,
it's never
maybe,
unconditional, inconditional world.
But if it is his will, I will accept it.
Therefore, we are obliged to follow etiquette.
But I don't understand why.
I just explained.
I want to ask about this topic. We know that this is the way for not bright future to mix too much
Yes.
devotees. But by observation, we see that many of the devotees, they don't want to follow. They just follow their nature, or they find some excuse.
Yes, Shishigurnitai ki jai.
Yeah, that I'm helping this devotee.
Yes,
And
yes.
even if you try to establish some rules, even this is very difficult, and sometimes we talk about it, but let them act motivated in this way, but let the service being done, because it's many services here and there, and if you say just separate it or go away, practically
No one will remain.
yeah, this is the reality. This maybe few, but generally not many. And is this not their way to but still rendering some service, or what should we
Yes, this is
in this situation?
managerial point of view.
Yeah.
Yes. We should know that spiritual life is extremely individual. Society is there for only one purpose, that people can associate with devotees. Otherwise, Prabhupada said, we can sit under the tree, no problem. But that people will come and receive association of the devotees and receive prasad. Therefore, the society is needed. So, and devotional service is something voluntarily done. No one can force devotional service to anyone. it's completely individual path, totally. So it's one own's path is completely dependent on one own's understanding. And besides this, one of the characteristics of devotional service is that sudurlabha, extremely rare. Maybe we understand that this most elevated path when we read Prabhupada's books, and we become attracted, but we don't take it really serious. And since we don't, since it's Kali Yuga, it's cheating mentality everywhere, and so we cheat ourselves also, as we just discussed this. Also, with this mixing, free mixing, and that's on. It's just cheating ourselves if we think that it's not a problem with this, or even if we try to present it as that we are completely above this bodily identification. That's no problem. It's cheating mentality. So managers, of course, have this need for service to be done. It's true. But this is not beneficial for anyone, actually. Yes. Most needed is purity is the force, Prabhupada says. Purity is the force. So, of course, we should be example. This is most proper attitude, to be example and a leader, if we are able to be. And if we are not in this position to be leader, everyone is to a certain degree a leader, even with his example, even if he's a newcomer. By his example, he's showing something, the proper attitude. So he's teaching, even if he doesn't say anything, he's still teaching by his example. So everyone should take full responsibility for his own life. So if one doesn't want to follow some etiquette, it's his decision. So from the point of view of service to be done, maybe they can serve together, but they should know that this is not beneficial for them. And if their behavior is not proper, they should leave the society, because they will contaminate everyone. It's also Jamila's story. He got contaminated by seeing improper behavior. And Prabhupada extremely emphasized this. This is not a brothel for free mixing of girls and boys. And the temples and ashrams. So when newcomer comes, the duty of authority is to speak with such candidate to live in the community, and to make clear rules. These are the rules of this society. If you follow them, you are welcome. If not, you are not welcome anymore. And if we keep this purity, we'll be attractive for the society, for newcomers. if you are lax in this, because I don't want to lose this manpower to perform service, then will not be attractive anymore. Because everyone will see that there is not high standards here. Understand my point? And maybe we keep persons who are not sincere for some service, but we lose so many that would be sincere, because they don't want to join such environment.
Situation.
Yes. So it's very difficult for managers. That's why I'm not a manager. Thanks God that I'm not a manager. Yes, I sympathize, but it's extremely important to understand this dynamics. Is this okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Pramanandi. Please accept my